Things I hate about MMORPGs in 2023. Oh no, is he talking about furries? Let's see what this video's all about here.
MMORPGs can, at times, be really fun games, banding together with
best
large
games.
groups of players doing epic stuff
My
like
favorite
fighting
genre.
dragons, sieging cities, and hunting down legendary loot to spike your dopamine. However, as someone that's been covering MMOs on YouTube for the past 8 years, I've realised that a lot of them have similar problems. Oftentimes when I'm doing my first impression pros and cons list, a lot of the cons for one MMO could be directly applied to another MMO, and it's made me realise that there's certain things MMOs do that really piss me off. So today I'm going to have a bit of a rant about all of the things that I hate about MMORPGs.
Why is he
but
showing
first,
Fortnite?
today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
The hell, Fortnite's
Raid is a
not an
completely
MMO.
free mobile RPG with over 80 million global players worldwide. The game features top-notch graphics and offers both casual and competitive
Raid
gaming.
Shadow Legends.
where
Why hasn't
players
Raid
can
Shadow
collect
Legends
over
sponsored me
700
yet? My
unique
videos aren't doing too
champions,
bad. The fuck?
customize them, fight in-game bosses, or compete in real-time battles in the arena. Raid is now increasing its roster of awesome-looking champions with a brand new rarity, Mythical, a step above legendary champions. These new mythical champions have a special new mechanic
They're evolving
called
like
Metamorph
Pokemon.
that allows them to change between two different forms. This transformation grants them a fresh appearance, new abilities, and enhanced skills. Mythical champions are summoned from primal shards, and both of their forms utilize the same gear and
They won't work with me.
So make sure to check out the new update, and if you click my link or scan the QR code on screen, you'll also get a free starter pack with a bunch more in-game
I'll be a shill, call me
and
Raid.
on top of that, if you log into Raid on 7 different days between August 22nd and October 23rd, you will also get the legendary champion Sun Wukong for free. Click the link in the description below to download Raid Shadow Legends now.
Let's do it.
Inventory management and tedious looting. One thing that makes me want to instantly quit an MMO is if it becomes quickly obvious that I'll need to spend a significant amount of time sorting through my inventory, whether it be from straight up running out of space after a few minutes of killing mobs.
I think that's one reason why I dislike crafting a lot of times. I just hate keeping a bunch of items in inventory and tracking a bunch of items and using them to create another. I don't know. I just don't like the inventory game.
Or the game just bombarding me with useless items to fill up my bags that don't really need to exist. Some games do this to sell you more inventory space. Others do it because the devs don't play their own game enough to realise it's an issue. I've played some MMOs where you're also expected to loot every item from each individual mob kill, and I just end up asking myself why. Are the profits generated from selling inventory space and pets worth the game being so significantly worse with such design? I'm honestly not sure. Black Desert Online is an example of an MMO where you get so many random event items and useless
crap, he's got slots that have 1,400 items
it makes you want to uninstall. Lost Ark is another one. Even with the loot filter, your bags are rammed after 2 Chaos Dungeons. Then you've got to spend time deciding if what's drop is worth selling or not, alongside having to constantly have like 2 rows of your inventory constantly filled with battle items. Before adding an item to the game, I wish devs would ask themselves the following questions. 1. Does this item really need to exist? 2. Could this item be stored in its own separate inventory that the player doesn't...
Yeah, like how World of Warcraft gives us like 20 crests that create a... Like you gotta get 20 of these freaking, you know, shard quests and the crests, and then you form them into a massive shard, and then you can use the massive shard to socket the shard into your legs. Like, no, just put it in a currency tab. Thank you. We don't need to have 4 bag slots for 1 piece of currency. Thank you, okay? And Blizzard's doing that now with the crests, thank God.
Need to deal with. And 3, does adding this item take the player out of the gameplay to make a decision as to whether or not the item is useless and
no,
needs
Lost
to be
Ark is an
destroyed?
MMO.
Personally, I hate having to squint my eyes reading and spending time trying to figure out if the stuff in my inventory is useful. This is made easier though when games display an estimated value for the item right from the inventory, or do some kind of UI pop-up alerting me that I've received a rare drop that I should care about. Looting should be a dopamine spike and an exciting moment in an MMO.
True.
So games that fuck this up are clearly doing something wrong.
Right.
Having to dig through external sources to search for a build. Let's be honest, almost every MMO nowadays requires that you go to an external website to search.
You gotta parse, man. You gotta get your parses right. So yeah, I mean, for WoW, it's, you know, we gotta go to Wowhead, check your best in slot, or or icy veins, you know, get your specs right, stuff like that. Yeah, that's existed for quite a long
for a
time.
viable build for your class, and MMOs are so imbalanced that not playing a viable build will either get you kicked from groups,
it's hard for, I think, for an
invited,
MMO to not
or
have
struggle
this.
to clear content. For
Players
me,
are
I
always
just
gonna
want to
wanna
get into the
max
action
out.
as quickly as possible, so if I need to
Raider
spend a lot
IO,
of time
yeah.
digging through builds on Google, reading pages upon pages of information, then spend a lot of time in-game actually implementing
checking
said build
parses
through
on
the
Warcraft
UI,
logs.
or buying 30 different components off the auction house, by the time I'm ready to actually play the game, I'm already annoyed. Why don't more MMOs just do us a favour and implement community voted builds right into the UI, similar to what Dota 2 does? Theory crafters
really?
could
Does
receive
that?
rewards for getting a certain amount of upvotes, builds would be more up to date, and Fextra Life's legal view botting would be less effective. Daily chores and
everybody rips on his view botting because he embeds his streams. That Fex for Life guy, he embeds his streams at a website, so he gets a bunch of fake viewers off it.
time gates.
Shots fired.
A mistake we've seen quite a few MMO devs make over the years is implementing daily systems combined with time gates that make players feel like they need to work through a list of chores every day before getting to the content that they actually want to do. I can understand why devs think this way, as you want to retain players and give them a reason to log in every day.
Yeah, that's what
But
Torghast
from the
was.
player's point of view, it makes them burn out of the game way quicker than just having more flexibility.
This is a live shot of me doing Torghast. When I realized that I had to regrind the currency to create the new version of my legendary, yeah, that was literal image of me.
What
Live
usually
shot right
happens is players will do the chores for a few weeks, then they'll miss a day,
Then Blizzard
then another, and eventually
What's
ask
the thing where you can like decraft your item to get the currency
themselves, if I'm spending half of
Ridiculous.
my playtime doing chores that I don't really find fun, then why am I playing in the first place? Then they quit. This has happened to me with a few MMOs in the past. The
Yeah,
first one
scrapping.
that comes to mind was Arcade Unchained when it first released. The entire endgame progression system was tied to dailies and weeklies that rewarded you with scrolls to upgrade your gear. I did it for a few weeks and very quickly it made me sick of the game,
wow, this
despite
game
actually
looks-
having fun with other content outside of
looks
that.
kinky.
Another MMO that made me burn out quite fast with its dailies at release was Lost Ark. I think I kept up with the daily, weekly grind for 2 months.
Well,
then
cause he got burned out because he's playing it wrong. That's not how you play Lost Ark. You're supposed to pay for the shit that you're getting in the dailies. You got to pay to win. Lost Ark was created for a pay to win. Yeah, you can't do in the dailies. What's wrong with this guy? You got to do your credit card. That's what you got to do.
I took a week off and felt a massive weight off my shoulders.
No wonder.
I think most
Playing
of
the
us have
game
enough
wrong.
daily chores to deal with in the real world, so adding to that list of chores as a game, which is supposed to be an escape from reality, is pretty much always a bad idea. Remember the days when making gold in an MMO was actually something you'd need to think about? The feeling
Yeah.
of getting a rare drop and being excited because of how valuable it was? Leveling up your crafting and gathering so you could make money consistently?
Yeah.
And you'd get little dopamine spikes whenever you saw a rare gatherable resource out in the world?
True.
For many MMOs nowadays, this is a thing of the past because they straight up sell you in-game currency on the cash shop. You've got RuneScape's bonds, the WoW token, Lost Ark's gem to gold conversion, Albion Online's gold to silver conversion, BDO allows you to sell cash shop outfits for raw silver, and the list goes on. Some MMOs claim that providing these services combats real-world trading, but in reality, does it really? For me, if I see that an MMO is willing to undermine the integrity of their game, then I'd be more likely to engage in RMT, as I'd probably be getting way better value from the gold sellers anyway. You could argue that gold selling has always been a thing in MMOs, so why shouldn't devs provide this service themselves? The difference is that for most MMOs,
J-Mal, that's
RMT
because
is
you're a
against the
GigaChat.
terms of service, so you're basically putting your account at risk. For me, this is enough of a deterrent, so long as it's actually
Oh damn, what's he gonna
enforced by
do
the
for
devs.
13 days?
But now that most MMOs sell in-game gold, it's basically
Same.
put a real-life dollar amount on every activity and item in the game.
Blizzard's not only done it with gold now, they've done it with Trader's Tender. Could not resist the opportunity.
If you earn more than minimum wage, are you really going to spend 6 hours gathering and crafting to make $2 per hour worth of gold when you could just do an hour of overtime and buy your gold instead? Not only does having a dollar amount tied to everything you do in-game take away from the escapism of an MMO, but it also makes vast amounts of the game's content feel completely pointless, and this feeling only gets worse with the more money that you make IRL. If I was broke, I'd probably still want to earn all of my money.
Yeah, and there's the whole thing where the more money you make IRL, probably the less time you have to play the game. Like that's not a direct correlation. I know there's a lot of people that work hard and don't make a lot of money. But there's obviously the more you work, the more you make, but the less time you have to play. But now you have more money, so you can buy some of the shit that you didn't have time to get. That's the logic that goes with with buying in-game currencies, is that they just expect the people who don't have a lot of time to play but work a lot to just buy the shit.
Legitimately, because I'd have no other choice. I'd get to fully enjoy the economy side of a game. But if I'm earning 6 figures, then that side of the game basically doesn't exist if an MMO allows me to buy gold from the cash shop or doesn't punish me.
We have a realm to destroy.
J Mall, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge, man.
So how do you actually fix this? There's 2 ways. Number 1, not selling gold on your cash shop, and ban players either permanently or for 6 months who buy gold from RMT websites. Most players won't want to risk losing an account with thousands of hours
I've never
of time
bought gold
investment.
because of that. I was always afraid of that.
Number 2, straight up disable player-to-player trading and have an auction house with price limits like Black Desert Online. Basically implement BDO's trading system without allowing people to sell cash shop items for silver.
I like trading.
Of course, doing this would probably be against the developer's best interest, as they directly profit from selling gold. It also doesn't help that it's somehow become quite normalized for MMO devs to sell gold nowadays, so I can't see this issue ever going away. Multiple gear sets.
What up,
this
Draz?
point kind of ties into my previous points about hating having my time wasted dealing and sorting through items and builds, but some MMOs require that you have multiple gear sets with different stats on them. New Worlds used to be really bad for this, but recently implemented a nice
Blizzard fixed this. There was a point in WoW where like the stats were just getting crazy. I want to say BC got really crazy too with gems, for sockets. So you had like stats on stats, then socket stats on top of your stats, so you had to enchant for stats, socket for stats, then make sure the stats that were on your armor were the right stats. Yeah, then we had kind of a squish and all that.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
Samantha, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Yeah, then we had like a stat squish that was really good, and it was needed in the game because, too many stats to focus on kind of ruins the whole looting of an item, because then you're unsure if it's the right item because you got to go fucking parse out the stats or something.
System to fix the issue, and World of Warcraft also used to have this issue quite some time ago if you played a hybrid class like Druid, but later made it so changing spec changes your primary
BFA had the
stats, which
Azerite armor
helped
too.
fix
That was
the issue to
dumb.
some extent. If you're an MMO that's designed with tons of different stats and multiple gear sets, you need to have some kind of system that makes storing, organising and switching between gear sets and builds as painless as possible.
We're going to do it,
because if this is ignored, it just takes the player out of the gameplay and has them dealing with tedious UI bullshit, as well as overwhelming them whenever they return to the game after a break.
That's true.
Quantity over quality questing. Now this is something that almost every MMORPG except for a select few have issues with. The games that do questing well, in my opinion, are RuneScape, Guild Wars 2, and nowadays New World has pretty good questing.
Oh, really?
I like MMOs that have quests that take you on an adventure.
Yeah, I love quests.
Multiple steps, puzzles, exploration, sometimes with their own self-contained story. What I don't like is going to a quest hub, instantly having my quest log filled with 10 quests.
Yeah.
Half of those quests are completed just by talking to an NPC, and the others are either one-step kill and collect or escort.
Yeah, I want my poop gathering quest.
More.
I want to go to Nagrand and gather Talbuck poop. That's the kind of quest that I love.
Be better to have 10 quests.
No, but in all honesty, I mean, that quest was kind of fun. But yeah, I do like quests. I do. And I like the feeling of turning quests in, doing them. But certainly when you had a good storyline to a quest, then it really becomes
memorable, rewarding, and fulfilling than 100 quests that are completely forgettable. Types of quests that I specifically hate are talk to me quests, escort an NPC who's moving slower than your character's run speed quests, quests where you spend more time running back and forth to hand in the quest than engaging in combat gameplay, like 90% of the questing in Final Fantasy XIV, and quests that have you standing around for ages waiting for NPCs to talk to each other like in Guild Wars 2. This part was quite a subjective point, but I'm definitely more of a gameplay above all else kinda MMO player. If an MMO has good fundamental gameplay, I don't want to spend too much time reading, waiting around, or pretending to care about the story. I want to be doing the fun stuff, killing monsters, fighting bosses, chasing loot, and working towards completionist
I'm with him on
rewards.
that.
I actually love MMOs where I'm able to watch a stream on the other monitor and still progress. If I have to pay attention to some fully voice-acted NPCs yapping to each other for 10 minutes about the nuances of the current political climate our faction is dealing with, then I start to get annoyed and will say things like, I wish these NPCs would shut the fuck up so I can play the game. Again,
even better, what if the NPCs bug out and then you're just stuck there waiting for something, so you gotta reset the entire thing? That's
probably
always
an
fun.
unpopular opinion, but I wanted to get it off my chest. Add-on requirements. Personally, I really dislike MMOs that allow for community add-ons. Why? Because in reality, certain add-ons end up being a requirement to participate in content, and in some ways actually take away from the intended gameplay.
Like one thing that happened in Dragonflight that was really good was the whole UI revamp and all that stuff, because I personally deleted a ton of add-ons once they did that, because I would prefer to play the game without add-ons. I still can't do that yet, but Blizzard is kind of working towards that. You know, at the end of the day, add-ons are going to be there because there's so many like little niche things that the community can do that like Blizzard won't give dev power to or dev time to, because it'd just be a stupid expenditure for no reason. But mostly, this is probably one of the better spots Warcraft has been in terms of like dependence on add-ons. It's gotten better. It's not as bad as it used to be.
World of Warcraft is a prime example of this. You're basically
I know
required
DVM's
to have
one that I'm like
multiple
waiting
boss
for
mod
good
add-ons
integration.
to raid, and they basically just tell you
it.
what to do. Every time you come back to the game, you need to update all of your add-ons. You've got massive pop-ups whenever you log in. If the game has an issue,
funny, you got to update your add-on. That's literally what I was doing right now in the background while we were watching this video. I was updating my add-ons.
Worthy of critique, you'll get people dismiss your critique because the issue can be solved with an add-on. It's just a mess. Also, imagine you're trying to get your friend into an MMO for the first time and you start explaining add-on requirements. It doesn't exactly sound good.
It kills
when you
the
tell
new player
them,
experience.
Hey bro, so first you need to install this list of 10 add-ons from a download client which you'll need to create an account for and log into. Keep these add-ons up to date, and also once the add-ons are installed you'll need to customize them with some specific settings. If an MMO genuinely does need add-ons to be playable, then I think it's a sign that the UI designers have more work to do, not something that should be solved by the community with add-ons. Alt-unfriendly MMOs. There's not a whole lot to say about this point other than I really appreciate MMOs that are alt-friendly. I think having the ability to play multiple classes extends the longevity of an MMO, gives players more content and allows for more varied gameplay. I dislike MMOs that are designed in a way where you feel stuck playing one class and spec. Usually this is down to some kind of time gate being tied to progression. I remember disliking World of Warcraft Legion at the launch of that expansion for this exact reason. Thankfully these days WoW is much more alt-friendly.
Oh yeah, he's talking about Legion alt-friendliness. Yeah, that was horrible for alts.
Non-account-wide
the legendary system was bad for alts.
This kind of ties into my previous point about alt-friendliness, but I hate MMOs that have completionism systems that you're happy to do once, which don't carry over to alt characters. Things like map completion, hidden item collection, achievements, and so on. Imagine if Lost Ark didn't have account-wide progress. You're able to collect all of the Makoko seeds on each character. If you reroll, you need to get all of the island souls again. You lose all of the horizontal progression skill points. You lose all of your card collection progress. The game would feel awful. For the most part, I think if something can be account-wide, then it probably should be. Autoplay AFK gameplay. Thankfully, most PC MMOs aren't designed this way. However, there's a few Korean MMOs that are quite heavy on the AFK autoplay gameplay. Black Desert Online is an MMO where you certainly benefit massively from leaving it open 24/7, and I really don't like it.
Oh, I see why devs would do that. Yeah, because it just increases time played. Okay.
The main reason to AFK in BDO is that closing the game causes your workers to stop working. You can also AFK fish and process.
What the fuck? Is this really an armor set? What's going on here? They literally got an ass crack armor set? What? people complain about Alex
for hours
Straza's
at a
outfit. What
time
the fuck's
too,
going on with
allowing
that?
you to make way more money long term than someone who actually closes the game. Throne and Liberty is another MMO that was supposed to release this year, which was pretty much completely designed around autoplay. Thankfully, the devs seem to be changing the game quite a bit, and the recent updates to the combat are somewhat promising. The reason I hate autoplay gameplay is that just having it in the game makes it a requirement to keep up with the gear curve. Additionally, if the game has an extremely high gear ceiling and the majority of progression is designed around AFK, then how is a player who starts playing 6 months post-launch ever supposed to catch up with someone who's been AFK from day one? I think AFK gameplay adds nothing to the game and only serves as a system in which devs can use to pad player retention stats, or add things to the cash shop to make that AFK grind more convenient and efficient.
Exactly.
Ugly user interfaces. Not much to be said here, but I hate MMOs where half of the screen is UI, and there's so many different UI.
That's why I don't like a lot of add-ons. I prefer most of my screen to be the game, believe it or not. I don't want to see like 36 boxes all over my screen and 17 alerts, and I gotta like look in between them to understand what the fuck's going on.
Windows popping up that
I prefer like to see mostly game.
I end up getting
like a clean UI.
Menus. Personally, I like having a nice, clean, minimal user interface with a lot of
the
functionality
less UI, the better.
Customization, especially if I'm playing an MMO with good graphics.
YouTube sub, thanks.
A good UI will display information clearly, not invent pointless systems that don't need to exist in which you purely interact with it via a UI menu, and be easy to navigate. A bad UI will have multiple pop-ups as soon as you log into the game, an incoherent theme with different colours and animations that distract you from the gameplay, very little customization, no option to hide the UI for screenshots.
Also, a bad UI will just not have enough, and you'll need add-ons which creates more UI. There's that side of it too.
Getting in the way of gameplay, such as not being able to move your character whilst opening the inventory or map. Transmog. This is a bit of a hot take, but I kind of miss the days of when transmog wasn't a thing in MMOs.
I do.
Now,
I do too, for the reason that, like, when you used to look at somebody, you understood based on their armor, like, what they've done, who they are, you know, how badass or not badass they are, if they've no life the game, if they have, like, those things you used to be able to, like, gauge just by seeing somebody. Now, I'm gonna say I like Transmog for the way it makes my toon look. Like, he looks fucking amazing right now because of the Transmog. But I do kind of miss the days where, like, you would see a paladin in full judgment and you'd be like, this guy clearly has no life. I want to be just like him one day. You know, that doesn't exist anymore.
Actually hate Transmog, but there's definitely pros and cons to its existence. Pros: collecting different gear sets from old content keeps that content somewhat relevant in terms of rewards. Transmog as a whole adds content to an MMO. Its horizontal progression and making different transmog sets is fun. Cons: nowadays you can't look at a player in an MMO and get an accurate idea of how strong they are purely based off appearance.
Yeah, that's
the existence of transmog also devalues the feeling of getting a cool new piece of end.
Is that a giant, like, turtle teddy bear mount? What?
Game loot. You're basically only interested in the stats, unless it just happens to match one of your transmog sets.
Some MMOs got some weird shit in them, man.
Transmog also typically have cosmetic cash shops where you can just pay to look cool regardless of your level, which creates an incentive for devs to make the coolest looking armor be tied to cash shop purchase, rather than being earned in-game. When it comes to transmog, I'm 50-50. On one hand, I really enjoy running old content and collecting skins.
I like it and I hate it.
On the other hand, I think it's really cool that in Classic WoW I can just look at another player and instantly see what gear they have without having to inspect them. At this point, transmog isn't something that you can really take away from MMOs, and it's definitely in the devs' best interest to keep selling skins, with most players being okay with this. But that's it for this video. Obviously a highly subjective one. It is titled Things I Hate About MMORPGs, so I don't expect everyone to agree with me on some of these points.
I actually agree with a lot of what he said.
It's a fun discussion regardless. And let me know the stuff that you hate about MMORPGs in the comments below. Help us out with a like for the algorithm gods if you enjoyed the vid. Social media on screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh, great. I liked it. Great video. Honestly, he touched on a lot of the stuff that I've hinted at before about things that I don't like about, you know, in WoW. But I feel like also a lot of the things he said, WoW's trying to get better at. Like the stat squishes, the UI being fixed, you know, less of a need for add-ons, quests that are kind of pointless. You know, I feel like a lot of that's kind of been filtered out of the game. So maybe WoW's heading in the right direction. We just need some better story. Maybe Metzen will bring that. We'll see. But a great video. Great video.